Hey, it's John at Eurobased People. I'm joined by Joanna today to talk about how the market has changed within the last almost 10 years. Actually, it's changed quite a lot, in terms of salary, in terms of what job posts have been being said and what the description has been. And it'd be great to kind of hear, both our thoughts and Joanna's thoughts as well. Can you introduce yourself, Joanna, first of all?
Absolutely. So, as you mentioned, I'm Joana. I'm currently a CPO with Factlines. Factlines is a company that has been in business since 2012. It has had different iterations, I would say. Currently, we're very heavily focused in the sustainability tech business, and it is a small company, just for context.
Oh, amazing. It's great. Everyone's looking for sustainability now. Especially when I look for, when I kind of get preferences from candidates, where would you like to go to? What would you like to work in? If there's kind of like an ideal role, sustainability is always the top one. So it's great that you've kind of got in there with a sustainability company. But in terms of the market itself, then, just to kind of go straight into it, where have you kind of seen it go from, say, like 2018 to now? So kind of like pre-COVID, post-COVID, COVID has changed a lot within the market. What have you kind of seen, back then, from your perspective?
So just to provide a little bit of background, so I'll be focusing primarily on in the Oslo market. I am aware that there are more markets for product managers in Norway, but I do live in Oslo, so that's where I tend to keep tabs. And to me, keeping tabs on the job market, particularly when I'm not looking to switch jobs, is crucial because it's a great way to just understand the evolution of the market. So maybe I can start with an anecdote. I moved to Norway in 2018. And I can be very honest with you about the fact that at the time I secured a role while I was living abroad. So I relocated from Ireland to Norway. And my first role in product in Norway was as a product owner. And I got that job because I persuaded the hiring manager of two key things. And this is where it gets funny. So he had two key questions. Joanna, do you know how to work with Jira? Yes, I do. And the second question was, are you able to talk to engineers?
Okay.
So two very crucial points, which I can almost 100% say would not get me hired today if I was looking for that kind of job in 2025.
Wow, I wish it was like that now.
Things were easier back then.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine there was a lot less people on the market as well, and that's also a talking point too. But that's crazy. Just those two questions. Pretty much, can you do the job? Basically.
Yeah, very straightforward. I think things have become much more complex these days. So I haven't been on interviews recently, but I do talk to companies sometimes because I'm approached, and I always like to have a chat, especially if I'm not looking, because it's much more informal and much more relaxed on both sides. And sometimes there's the added bonus that I get to recommend a friend. So that's perfect. But what I have seen in the past, I would say since 24, before the US election, there was a lot of focus on diversity. Like really a lot. I wasn't open to any opportunities back then, but I would still get expressions of interest, and I would always ask the question, so what led you to get in touch specifically with me? Because I mean, you can go on LinkedIn and you find hundreds of candidates. And the answer at that time, prior to November 1st, was, we're looking to add more women to our team.
Okay, wow.
I appreciated the honesty.
I still get that.
I still get that. Okay.
I still get that. Within the tech industry, I know especially within design. So It's not so bad within design, but within development, I think the stat was something like 20% of women are in that industry, particularly in Oslo, compared to 80% men. So it's very, very male dominated. So I know within development, they even reduce experience so they can have diversity within their team as well.
Well, maybe for your clients, that's still, I would say, an indicator, a KPI, but a lot of companies just abandon that recently. And the other thing that I also found very curious, and this, it's been a while now, but I would purposely ask companies when I was approached, so what about AI? And the reason why I would ask that question was because at least at that point in time, I wasn't giving out any indications that I had experience in AI, but I was still getting calls. So what was happening there? And it's very curious because there are still a lot of industries that represent a substantial portion of GDP in Norway that were not particularly interested in candidates with an AI background. At that point in time, things might have changed more recently, but they were looking for other things, actually.
What were they looking for?
There was a lot of emphasis in collaboration. So stakeholder management, yes, but mostly having the ability to make different people in different teams work together and mediate those interactions. And I think this goes back to some particular characteristics of the, I wouldn't call it the Norwegian tech environment. I would say that this goes back to Norwegian culture. So there is a lot of technical expertise in Norway to levels that are unheard of in other countries. So when there are challenges, they don't tend to come up as technical challenges. This is also connected to the fact that Norway has built an enormous amount of technical expertise in hardware. And all of those industries still count a lot. So the challenge oftentimes is not, can I get the right team? Can I get the right people on board? The challenge is more, these people, so skilled, are so used to working in their little cocoons. And they don't necessarily like to bridge gaps between different teams. And this is where the PM typically is called in. It's to become sometimes the glue. If you're lucky, you get called in to be the facilitator, to make sure that conversations are happening, or worst case scenario, if people really cannot stand each other, that someone is at least the go-between.
That bridge, No, that's really interesting, actually. So it is so interesting to kind of hear, because I wasn't in this kind of market back then, say like 10 years ago, or even in, say, like pre-COVID. I kind of joined this industry with after COVID, but it's interesting to kind of hear your take on that. So when it came to the job descriptions, say if you compared it in pre-COVID, say 2018, what did the job descriptions look like to you?
They were lists of tasks primarily. And I remember around that time, 2018, 2019, I remember asking to HR managers the same question over and over again, which was, you have listed this as a PM position, product management position. However, upon reading the description, this looks more like a project manager position. So would you be able to elaborate on that? And I got very honest answers that inevitably boiled down to, we had this out as a project management position first, but we weren't getting any candidates. So we just switched the title.
They just changed the name. Oh, wow. And then I imagine they probably weren't getting any joy because they were getting, product managers applying when they need a project manager instead.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time pre-COVID where you would have, on the one hand, people educating themselves, reading Marty Kagan, doing a lot of research on how Silicon Valley companies were building stuff. And
Okay.
then you had project management roles on offer, and there was just a
Wow.
huge disconnection in the market at that time.
Yeah, I feel like there is still a slight disconnect now.
Mm.
Even when you look at roles for product managers, there's still that element of project manager as well. I do get it probably pre-COVID. You could say that some companies think that product manager is kind of like a new role to them. They probably never had a product manager before. I know when I first started, there were still some companies that this is going to be our first product manager. We've never had a product manager before.
Mhm.
So I think some were still kind of exploring that, what does a product manager actually do?
Yeah, I had some very interesting life experiences. I like to call it like that
Yeah.
in that regard. I interviewed once, I forget in which year, but I interviewed once with a company that is still around. Uh, and at that moment in time, I was no longer a novice PM in the sense that I had learned
Okay.
how to
Yeah.
ask some strategic questions up front. So one thing I would always ask at that time was, so why have you made the decision to bring in this person now?
Yeah.
And the answer that I got from that particular question stuck in my mind because they said, well, we have tried before to have PMs around. The last one quit because we weren't really letting him do anything.
Oh,
But we just
that's
thought
a
we,
red
we
flag.
would try it again. Yeah, yeah, but like
Yeah.
so red flag that it's
Yeah.
funny, you know?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, the fact that there was, I respect the honesty, but if someone did ask that question, that's, they're never going to take that job.
No.
Unfortunately,
He kept
they
going
don't
on
need it.
saying, yeah. He said, yeah, we had this guy coming in and he wanted to change the way how we used to work, and we didn't like that, so we just made him quit.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah,
They don't need a product manager then. They need someone else.
yeah.
They need to change that role.
Hmm.
But what are you seeing now then in comparison to the market? In terms of like the job description, are you
Hmm.
still kind of seeing, that there is still tasks in those job descriptions from what I see too? But what are you seeing from your perspective for someone that would, potentially be an applicant?
Uh, well, I should probably mention that the type, like hypothetically, and this is
Of course.
a hypothesis that is not happening at the moment. But if I was applying today, I also would be applying to roles at a different level. So that
Yeah.
also plays a part. But even if
Okay.
I try to remove that from the equation, so if we
Yeah.
stick to mid-level PMs,
Yeah.
um, I am seeing, in the best cases, I am seeing companies that actually put in the effort to describe the specific problem or challenge that they are looking to solve when hiring this person. And I see that
Okay.
as a positive development.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that has been a change. I'm not saying that is across the line, but I do see some companies going in that direction. There
Mm.
is also, and there has been quite a bit of back and forth, even in the PM community about this. There have been a lot of discussions recently among PMs about P&L and involvement with commercial.
Okay. Yeah.
And this might sound counterintuitive. I think that if we were to look at the typical profile of the Oslo PM, on
Yeah.
average, they will still tend to be highly technical. There is still a large proportion of people who transitioned into product and they were previous developers or
Yeah.
designers.
That's right. Yeah.
So they are very technically skilled. They don't necessarily have experience or the will to work very closely with commercial teams. Sorry, I'm just being very honest because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
not meant as a criticism. It's just that uh, we used to focus a lot in product management in feasibility. Can I
Yeah.
technically build this XYZ? But that's in the past. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily what's getting you hired today.
Okay.
What's getting you hired today might be more along the lines of, yes, I can build, but what you probably want of me is an educated guess as to whether that build is going to produce the results that you want from a commercial perspective. Like, will they buy it? Will they pay enough for it? Will this help you reach the target of, then it varies according to company, but it might be break even, financial profitability, might be M&A, might be an IPO if you're really ambitious, might be international expansion. That's the shift that has occurred. And that's what is getting people over the line of getting an offer or not at the moment.
I think so. I've definitely seen some. I've seen some roles where they're looking for a product manager, but they're also looking for more of like a product marketing manager. So it kind of links back to your, the commercial skills that they wanting to bring to the table now for this type of role. And of course, I've seen even though sometimes it's not in the job description, but however, they're looking for someone with a background within development, more so than user experience, what I have seen probably in the last year or two. So someone that was previously perhaps a developer, and then have kind of transitioned into this product manager role in the past, and they're still doing that now. So that's what I have seen on the market too. And salaries as well is obviously salaries always increasing. I think on average the national average of Norway within kind of like technology was, I think back in 2018, was around 775,000 Norwegian krone, and now the national average is around about 1 million now. So it's I think in the last 7 years it's increased by 36% in terms of average salary, which is kind of crazy, really how much it's grown in that time, and still people are being underpaid as well. So like within kind of like product management, I've seen kind of like juniors start from 600,000 NOK krones to sort of 690, I would say. Sort of between 0 to 2 years, and then you've got the mid-level, sort of 2 to 5 years. That goes. I've seen that kind of on average about 850 on an average, so give or take 100,000 each way. And then anything like senior above, I've seen kind of like 1 million or 950 and over, really for a senior product manager is what I have seen. But I'd imagine the salaries back then were quite different too.
Yes, I mean, for me, talking about salaries is a bit tricky, but not for the usual reasons. It's not like I'm shy about it, but I do have a very specific profile, which is not necessarily the same as that of the average PM. For one thing, I'm not Norwegian, and that's immediately a factor. And then it also depends. I mean, there are substantial industry variations. That is a factor to take into account. Some industries will pay a premium for exactly the same kind of profile.
I've known the fintech industry to pay quite a lot, and especially if there's like a HQ in the US, I always tend to find that those companies pay higher salaries than average, especially in Oslo.
And shipping as well, strangely enough, even though it's such a traditional industry.
That's crazy. But in terms of what sort of advice would you give to someone if they were looking at job descriptions on the market and exploring the market now? What advice would you give to someone knowing that you've been there, done that, you've seen the market change in the last 10 years? Is there any kind of advice you would give?
There is some baseline tips, I would say, which is it's a two-way interview, assuming that you're getting to the interview stage. If you're not getting to the interview stage, then we need to take a step back and focus on the CV, which is still the document that in most cases dictates whether someone moves forward or not. Unless you have different information, John, but my impression is that despite the hype, we are still at that point.
We are. We are.
Then, assuming that you are getting interviews, I always ask, why did you decide to call me specifically? In most cases, it's not really the answer that I was looking to hear, Sometimes it's because I'm a woman. Other times it might be, I got a funny one time. It was, I got asked, and this was post ChatGPT.
Okay.
I was asked if I had written that CV myself.
Okay. Wow.
And my answer was yes, because that's not the kind of work I like to outsource. I take pride in writing my own CVs, which apparently was a differentiator.
Okay. Wow.
Surprisingly. But more seriously, I mean, pre-interview, I do research on whoever is going to be on the other side of the table.
Yep.
That's important. I do modulate my language according to who is on the other side of the table.
Okay.
I mean, you want to create a certain level of empathy with the hiring manager, of course, but it's also useful to understand more about the structure of the company. I mean, I've been in interviews where I was being interviewed by someone in sales.
Okay. Well.
That immediately explains
Yeah.
how things might work there, or the other way around. I was interviewed by CTOs.
Okay.
If I'm being interviewed by another PM or CPO, that's a signal, and it's actually a pretty strong signal. And that's another follow-up question, also useful to ask in interviews, is who is the highest ranking product person in this organization?
Yeah.
Oftentimes, it's still the case that product is not represented at the highest level. And then you have some more information to go with. Then, of course, this is Norway, so you're not expected to push the boundaries too much during an interview. At the same time, you want to be able to assess as effectively as possible if there might be some red flags or the other way around. So asking, for instance, how crucial is this for you to actually fill this position within, say, the next 3 months? You can immediately tell if someone is telling you the truth or not. That becomes very apparent, even when people try to hide it.
That's true.
Yeah. Or, for instance, would you mind sharing with me if this position is open because someone has left the company, retired, or if the company is expanding?
Yep.
It's a diplomatic way of trying to figure out, okay, is this a place where people want to work?
Yeah, what happened to the last person? And it's always good to kind of get a background. I think it's always good if you are going into an interview, if you are connected to anyone in any way, shape or form at that company, or it might be a friend that works there. I think it's always good to name drop those people in those conversations, especially in the first initial conversation as well, because after that meeting, they'll go to that person. In my experience, that person, or the hiring manager will go to that person that they know and say, I just interviewed with your friend. You know, what's your thoughts about them? You know, what are they doing? So, and they're not going to say anything bad because they're your friends. So they're probably going to give you the kind of shine you in the best possible light, really. So I think that's always a good thing to do. You know, have a look to see who works at that company, and you know, and if you do have a friend that works there, they can put in a good word for you. And most of the time, it's who you know is how you get jobs. The last 2 positions that I had were through friends, and that's probably one of the reasons why I got this job as well. So you know, they can vouch for you and kind of steer you in the right direction as well at the same time. So and then also, if there's someone that works there, you can always get like a bit of a background. What is it like to work there? You know, what is happening within, say, the product space in the company? What happened to the last person that worked there? So you can always ask those questions as well to see if it is right for yourself too. So if you do know people in that company, it's so good. And I always vouch for just networking. Just make your network as big as possible. Make your world feel really, really small, because in Oslo, it is small. It can be really small, depending on how you kind of tackle it, really, and challenge yourself when it comes to networking.
I think I have a more lukewarm perspective on networking. Yes, it can be incredibly useful. I think I dodged a few bullets because I reached out directly to PMs at companies I was interested in. I didn't know them. So it was a
Yeah.
very cold email approach, like, listen, I saw that there is this opening, you're PM, from one peer to the other. Can you just tell me if you would recommend this, basically?
Yeah.
And what surprised me was how honest people are, even when you don't know them,
Yeah.
particularly in cases where they feel it might actually not be a good choice.
Okay. Fine.
So don't, for employers, it's like, don't underestimate the power that your current employees have.
Yeah.
That
They have
that
a
is a
lot.
factor, yes.
Mm,
But you are absolutely right that Oslo is it's a very small town.
mm,
For foreign candidates, I do think there is a significant disadvantage because there are so many people here that have known each other since primary school or even
yes.
kindergarten, and they
Yeah.
kept on working with each other throughout their lives.
Yep.
So that's a factor. I think networking works differently if you were not born here. That
Okay.
would be my honest assessment. Yes,
Yeah.
it is a factor. If nobody knows you and you're just a person with a funny name that nobody can pronounce, yeah, it can go both ways.
Yeah.
I was never in my entire career, and I've had 3 different careers so far. I've never once been hired due to a connection so far.
Okay.
That
Wow.
might change. We don't know what the future holds, but that has never happened to me.
Yeah. Wow.
I always had to go into the unknown and talk to people who had never heard of me, and I just had to make
Mm,
an impression. Um, so it can happen. I think that statistically it's a lot harder. Things tend to be much smoother when you have a warm introduction. I do agree with you
yeah.
on that.
Yeah. What advice would you give for someone that wasn't born in Norway and they've moved here and they're looking to expand their network? Obviously, you've done a really good job at doing that. What would you kind of give as advice for someone that is in that position right now?
I would probably say that low-hanging fruit is start with your peers who also were not born here,
Yeah.
because the odds of them having been through the same process are quite high. I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn from people who have just moved to Oslo, and unfortunately for them, they moved without having secured a job, and then
Okay.
oftentimes they get stuck. It
Yes.
is harder to make it when you are already here, but you're not currently employed. Um, and then the second advice that I would give is when you are reaching out to Norwegians, be
Yeah.
very mindful that socialization and networking in this country works in very, very specific social codes.
Yeah.
And the expectation is, even though you might just have moved here yesterday, you are expected to operate according to those codes.
Yeah.
And oftentimes those codes result in silence.
Yeah.
It's not personal, but it's like they don't know who you are. You're a stranger.
Yeah.
They have no objective reason to be helpful according to this particular mindset. They might be. I'm not saying that people are not nice. I'm saying that you should, as a foreigner, you should not have the expectation that you will be greeted with bells.
Yeah.
Then the third thing, and this is actually very practical,
Okay.
if you are planning to apply to jobs here, spend some time doing research on all the different companies, literally map out the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Companies come and go, of course, and some companies might also delocalize. That was something that happened, I would say, roughly 3 years ago.
Okay.
Companies that were large employers for PMs in Oslo decided to delocalize either entirely or specifically their product teams. So just spend a lot of time doing that. Also check the financials on companies. Norway has a lot of publicly available information. It takes a couple of clicks for anyone to
Yeah.
check if a company is profitable or not, if they're privately owned, so on and so forth. So that part
Yeah.
is actually easy as long as someone puts in the time.
Yeah. I think it's prof.no. is a really good website for that. I check it myself when I have a call with a potential customer from my side as well. It's it's a really good website. It tells you whether they've got cash, if they're profitable, who's the owner of the company as well. It's a really good platform actually. I know there's loads out there. That's just one of them as well. But
maybe a third tip actually, because to me at least this was something that required adaptation. Norway has 5 million people.
Yeah.
It's a small market. If you are coming from a market like Germany, for instance, it's going to feel very constrained in terms of the choices of companies available and the sectors that those companies operate in. You just to give you an example, 10 years ago, I was working in travel tech.
Okay.
Which is a very popular sector throughout Europe. It's not a thing here.
No.
Hardly ever.
Really.
No, it just doesn't exist. On the other hand, as mentioned, you have lots of deep tech companies. Many different ones, like highly proficient from a technical level. So just take these things into consideration, because you can't come here and force the market to simply create companies that will suit your particular experience. That's not going to happen. You have to navigate it.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of one piece of advice I give to people if they are struggling for a position is to kind of like strip it back, step back, and also see what their strengths are and where they could go into a company and really make an impact straight away. So the main piece of advice I give is, what industries have you worked in? Only because there's a lot of candidates on the market. And then when hiring managers are looking at people, they're looking for if you have this domain knowledge already, because then they don't really have to learn that. And that's time and money saved for the company as well. So having that industry knowledge. So if you're within, say, like finance or banking, apply for those finance and banking companies, because it will just increase your chances of getting an interview and also getting a job there as well. So there's one piece of advice I always like to give. And also another one I would actually say is to have numbers now. We all look for data, especially in Norway, in Oslo. There's so many data-driven companies. Especially with AI driving almost everything now. So data is almost like technology gold now. So if there's any kind of like KPIs or kind of like targets that you've hit to help make an impact on projects, I would say, include these in your CV, include these in, if you're a designer, for example, in your portfolio, because then you can showcase on the impact that you have made and how you made that as well. So having these numbers, it will just make you stand out on the market, and especially when you're looking at a CV that's full of text and then there's numbers in there, it will make you stand out amongst so many other people in the market. Numbers can be hard to find and hard to obtain sometimes, especially if you are a consultant. But I would say these are the two main things that I always like to give if you are on the market looking for a position. That's normally a good starting point, I would say.
Yeah, it is becoming more and more important for PMs, precisely because we are being asked to be more commercially oriented. So it's a mix between what did you build and what impact did it have. But with the caveat of janteloven in the mix, so you're not supposed to brag.
No.
Yeah, and that's actually that's a tricky point to get around.
Yes.
If you were not born here, your natural instinct will be, I have to showcase my achievements.
Yeah.
Because otherwise people will just walk all over me. But here you have to be very subtle. You have to, defend your position.
Yeah.
But without giving the impression that you're showing off.
Yeah.
Possibly, I don't know. I've never applied for a sales position, but I'm guessing sales might be the exception. I don't know.
Yeah, I would probably agree with you. Sales would definitely be an exception. It's all about numbers, isn't it? So, but no. Is there anything that anything else that you have seen that's changed on the market, or any piece of other advice that you would give to someone as we wrap this up?
Well, there are a couple of communities that you can try to join.
Mm,
In all honesty, Oslo is not a prime destination for product-related events. It
no.
isn't. So in terms of networking, is much more of an individual effort of reaching out to specific people and hoping that they will reciprocate. But there is a Slack community called produktleder.no. Basically
Yep.
means productmanagers.no.
Yep.
There is that. There's also a very recent initiative that I'm a part of, which is the Product
Oh,
Leadership
cool.
Network.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and then there are many informal groups that you probably won't hear about because they're like groups of 4 or 5 people,
Yeah.
basically.
Cool. And
Yeah.
I think the product manager.no, they have, is that a Slack channel to that as well?
Yep, it's a Slack channel. There are approximately 2,000 people in it. But
Yeah.
again,
Nice.
it's not so active. So if you are the
No.
newcomer, you really have to go in,
Yeah.
introduce yourself, and yeah, make an effort.
Yeah. No, that's good. I know
Mhm.
with the UX side of things in Norway, there's UX Norge, and I think there's about 6,000 people in that Slack channel, which is it's a fantastic community if you're a UX designer as well. So no, it's good. No, thank you for sharing. There's so many good takeaways that I'm so glad we've done this podcast because there's some great things that will definitely help people out there that are on the market needing some motivation and some kind of like maybe some fresh ideas that you've given on how the market has changed from say 7 years ago pre-COVID to now to post-COVID. So yeah, you've been an absolutely delight, actually, Joanna. As always, I know we've been speaking for quite some time now, which is cool, and well, I think we always have some great conversations as well. But no, thank you for your time. It's been great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, John.